2026 town meeting. Reminder that the polls will close at 5 o'clock this afternoon. I want you to, you know what this is, right? Turn it off. Thank you. If you have a phone call you got to make, step outside, that'd be great. Post 171 of the American Legion will present the colors and lead in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Forward, high, hold it. Column right. Column right. Hold. Left, take. Present arm. Color bearer, present flag. Join me in a pledge of allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Color guard, shoulder arms, right face, forward. Thank
you. Be seated, please. We're going to ask for a moment of silence for Harpswell residents who passed away in the last year. I want to note that Donna Nunnally and Ronnie LeClaire's names are omitted from the roll that was printed in the town report that you have. That was due to an error, not on the town's part, but we apologize anyway. A moment of silence, please. Thank you. So, as we usually do, I'll just give you a couple of rules of the road for the meeting. I will read each article. I'll ask for a motion and a second. I will then ask for any comments from the select board, town administrator, deputy administrator, and so forth, if any. And then if there's an issue that relates to zoning or things of that sort, and there's a town employee or officer who will speak to that article then to address those issues. And then we'll open it up to the floor for the voters to question and comment on the article. There's a microphone in the center of the hall. Please approach the mic, give your name, and try to keep your comments short and concise. And remember, we only talk about the article as presented. No extraneous stuff, okay? After it's been discussed, I will ask for a vote. During the discussion, if someone wants to amend the article, if it's amendable, and not all the articles are amendable, we'll take that amendment. If you have an amendment, I'd like you to present it to the town clerk in writing so it's clear. She has to keep an accurate record of each amendment. If there is an amendment, we'll then ask for a motion and second to that amendment. We'll address the amendment from the floor again and vote on the amendment. If the amendment passes, then the article as amended will be read and you'll proceed to make further comments on it and then vote on it. If the amendment fails, we'll proceed with the article as originally printed in the warrant and address it and then vote on it. I think that covers the rules of the road. I I will be stepping down from the lectern in Article 10. We have a deputy moderator, Gordon Weil, who will step up here and moderate that article. I'll be speaking to that article, so I can't do it from here. And so we'll suspend my moderator status for that particular article. And then I will take over again if Gordon is willing to relinquish, and we'll go on from there. Article 5, to see if the town will vote to adopt the proposed amendments to the Harpswell Comprehensive Plan proposed by the Harpswell Comprehensive Plan Task Force, which if adopted amends the Harpswell Comprehensive Plan adopted in November 4th, 2025. Is there a motion? Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Any comments from the select board? Town administrator? Questions or comments from the voters? Town planner may want to address this or not. Hearing none, we'll proceed. Voters can approach the mic.
Thank you very much. My name is Al LeGros. I'm the chair of the Comprehensive Plan Task Force. It's taken 4.5 years to put this together. And just to remind everybody, last November, this plan was overwhelmingly supported by the town. Over 70% of the vote was in favor of the plan. But while that process was unfolding here in Harpswell, a review was also taking place at the state level by various entities in the state government. We did not get the results of that review back until several weeks after the vote was taken. And the state had a number of suggestions that they wanted us to incorporate in the plan before they would certify it as being complete and consistent with state regulations. The task force met in January, and with the help of the town planner, we responded to their suggestions. There's a summary of the suggestions made in the handouts here, but fundamentally there are two major things that we added to the plan. One was a letter which we sent to the state separately. The state wanted us to include it in the plan itself. We did that and put it in an appropriate place in Part 1 of the plan. The second thing that the state wanted of significance was to show how our long-range improvement plan would support the main elements of the comprehensive plan. We incorporated the town's long-range plan document in Part 2 of the comprehensive plan to address that issue. I'll close by saying this: what we did and what the state certified in no way really changed the fundamental issues and priorities that were voted on in November. They simply added a little bit of context and clarity to certain areas of the plan. I would ask the voters to support this because it will give the town, for the first time in over 20 years, a comprehensive plan that was well thought out, well supported by the town, and will give us a document that we can use moving ahead for the next 10 or 12 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Would anyone else care to address this article? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote on Article 5. By the way, those of you who registered have a card. Only those with the card can vote, and you vote by displaying the card either as a yay when requested or a nay when requested. All those in favor of Article 5, please show your cards. Those opposed? Article 5 passes. Article 6. Shall an ordinance entitled Proposed Amendments to the Basic Land Use Ordinance regarding administrative appeals as set forth in the warrant be enacted? Is there a motion? Moved and seconded. Any comments from the select board? Town administrator? The planner is here. If there are questions about this, he's available to address them from the mic. Otherwise, voters prepare to address this article. Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote on Article 6. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 6 passes. Article 7. Shall an ordinance entitled Proposed Amendments to the Definitions and Addendum regarding definition of freshwater wetlands as set forth in the warrant be enacted? Is there a motion? Moved and seconded. Any comments from the select board? Comments from the town administrator? But again, if there are questions regarding this, the town planner is here to answer them. Any comments from the voters or questions from the voters addressing this article? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote on Article 7. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 7 passes. Article 8. Shall an ordinance entitled Proposed Amendments to the Site Plan Review Ordinance regarding minor amendments as set forth in the warrants be enacted? Is there a motion? Moved and seconded. Comments from the select board? None? Questions or comments? Again, the town planner is here to answer any questions if there are any. Voters may speak to this or ask questions. Being none, we'll proceed to vote on Article 8. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 8 passes. Article 9. Shall an ordinance entitled Proposed Amendment to the Floodplain Management Ordinance be set forth in the warrant be enacted? Do we have a motion? It's moved and seconded. Any comments from the select board? Questions or comments from the town administrator? But again, the town planner is here to answer any questions, take any comments from the voters. Are there any questions or comments from the voters addressing this article? Being none, we'll vote on Article 9. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 9 passes. So Article 10, I'm going to take my leave.
Good morning. Article 10, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to enter into a multi-year lease with David W. Moody and Patricia A. Moody, the duration of which may not exceed their lifetime, to operate and maintain a private wharf for commercial fishing and/or marine activities on town-owned property located at the end of Wood Landing Road on terms and conditions that the select board deems to be in the best interest of the town and substantially in the form provided in a document entitled Lease Agreement to the Wood Landing Road property. Is there a motion? Second. The article is moved and seconded. Anything from the selectmen?
Sorry it took so long.
Are there questions or comments?
There are.
Mr. Lloyd.
John Lloyd. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I helped David Moody deal with this issue. What are we talking about here? Wood Landing, which is at the end of the town road called Wood Landing Road, is on Lookout Point. And we're dealing with property, the real estate between the top of the bank and low water, where David Moody has a wharf and a fish house, cram and float. A bit of history. In the late 19th century, around 1870 to 1880, the Harpswell steamship line acquired a number of landings in Harpswell. One of them is Wood Landing. In 1920, the Harpswell line conveyed its Harpswell landings to Casco Bay Line. And in 1947, Casco Bay Line decided that it no longer needed its landings in Harpswell and began deeding them to folks. The wood landing was deeded by Casco Bay Lines to David Moody's grandfather, Orville Moody, in 1947. Orville built a rickety, this is David's characterization, not mine, built a rickety dock from which he had a 15-foot skiff with a bricks and Stratton hauler that he used to fish from until he passed away. In 1988, Orville Moody's widow, David's grandmother, deeded Wood Landing to David Moody. David fished then with a haul-off. He had a skiff on a haul-off, moored his boat offshore a little bit, and he had a float on which he stored his traps and gear and bait. In late 1990s or so, the town decided they didn't own the landing, notwithstanding that David had a deed. And so there was a minimum amount of arm wrestling over the title because David wanted to fish there, the town, neither one wanted to pay lawyers and go to court about the question of who owned. So both David and the town basically assert that they have legal title to the landing, which is from the top of the bank to low water. And rather than argue about it, they decided that let's have a lease. Let David lease the landing for a period of 25 years. That lease expires next month, it being the 25th year. And so David negotiated with the town to have a new lease. During the period of time that David's original 25-year lease was in effect, David had the Wallaces build a nice wharf. He put a fish house in, hydraulic hoist, ramp and float, and he's fished there from using that equipment and those improvements from 2001 until today. Today we have a lease, a copy of which, by the way, is on the table over here to your right. Is a slightly different than the lease that expires in a month. A couple of important improvements that benefit the town. One is that David wanted that the new lease to be require that the landing can only be used for commercial fishing or commercial marine use. So that's consistent with Maine's and Harpswell's working waterfront policy. It's a life lease, which is different. There's no term to it. It runs for the life of David and his wife. And it could be shorter than, God forbid, in 25 years, or it could be much longer than 25 years. Whereas the original lease had a annual rent, I think, of $1 or $5 a year. David on the initially said, gee, that's kind of cheap. I'll pay you $100 a year. So, and you know, that's kind of the price of not arguing over the title. Otherwise, the lease is very consistent with what the prior lease was. This lease was drafted by the town attorney. It was, I'm going to use the word negotiate. It was kind of loosely negotiated between myself and on David's behalf and the town attorney. I think the selectmen have reviewed it. I'll let them comment if they have any objections to it. I think everybody's happy with this, and I urge you to vote for this. Let's face it, David's life and financial security is tied up in this lease and his investment in the property. It's his livelihood, and I think that the town deserves to let him renew this lease and go forward from here. Thank you, and I'll answer any questions if there are any.
Are there any other comments or questions from the floor? Or from anybody on the platform? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a vote. All those in favor of Article 10, please raise your card.
I left my card up there, but I'm voting for it.
Here's his card. All those opposed? I have the pleasure of doing this one more time. It's a vote.
Thank you, Gordon. Article 11, to see what sum the town will vote to raise and appropriate for the elected official salaries and travel reimbursements as set forth in the warrant, and for the tax collector, town clerk, which are full-time positions. And when the select board fills a vacancy in any elected position, the board is authorized to establish the annual compensation at its discretion. I'll entertain a motion to move the sum shown in the warrant. I'll move. Is there a second? Move the second. Any comment? You can't talk. Any comments? Administrator? Questions or comments addressing this article from the voters? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote on Article 11. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 11 passes. Article 12, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $694,881 for general administration as set forth in the warrant. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Comment from the select board? Town administrator?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Christy Aono, the town administrator. I just want to point out in the administration salary and wage area that across the entire budget for 2026, all employees are slated to get a 2.8% cost of living increase, so to speak. But in addition, the town had a consultant come in and look at our salaries and our wages and compared them to our market area. And we learned that there were a number of positions, around 7 or 8, that were really below the market area, like 80%, below 80%. So you want to be within that 80 to 110 or so, but we needed to address some of these positions, including my own, I will add, that were much lower than some of our surrounding communities. So again, we're just getting into the low 80% with some of these proposed changes, but I wanted people to be aware that there are several employees that are slated to get more than the 2.8% increase. In addition, the select board has proposed that there be longevity increases. So if people have been here for, I think it's 5 years, you had to hit a 5-year mark and you received a certain percent increase, 10 years and then 15 years. Those only apply to people who did not get a market adjustment. So I just want to say that up front.
Thank you. Any questions or comments addressing Article 12?
Spike Heibel, Harpswell Neck. So if the moderator will allow me to extend this just slightly, because it applies to other articles that we're looking at. When you look at this, the 2025 appropriated was $651,500 something, and expended was only $616,000 and something. And you see this across a number of articles that we're going to pass judgment on. Where the appropriated amount is nowhere near expended for the year, and yet we're asking for more money for 2026. And I'm sure Terry has explained this to me before, but she knows I'm not very bright. So maybe she can explain why there is some articles have their budgets fully expended and they're asking for more, and why in this case, for instance, the budget's not fully expended and we're still asking for more. Did I confuse you guys, or?
I'll say generally in some budgets you see that happening because we may have personnel leave, and so before we have hired a new person to take that position, we're not paying any salary or wages because we've lost someone. I'm trying to think in the specific case of general government, why we didn't. We had a communications position open up, thank you. So we hired our very first communications specialist last year, making a really big difference, in my opinion, in how we're getting information out to the public in multiple ways on multiple platforms. That person left, and it took us a while to find a new communications specialist. So that's one major reason why we didn't expend as much money in general government. Another position was in the bookkeeper area. We had somebody leave, I believe, at the end of 2024 or beginning of 2025, and it took us a while to find a replacement. So again, we go 2-3 months without paying wages and salaries for a new person who has not yet come on board. And so that's really the major reason. Now, anything unspent goes into the general fund and helps reduce taxes for the following year. So, we're always trying to be careful about how we spend public funds, and do we need to spend them? Do we not need to spend them? Budgets are not an exact science. You do the best you can to estimate what you think some of these things are going to cost in any one year. And, having money go in the general fund, I don't think is a bad problem. But if we see a major differential for a number of years, then maybe we are over budgeting in some area.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments addressing Article 12? Being none, we'll vote on Article 12. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 12 passes. Article 13. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $21,360 for membership as set forth in the warrant. Is there a motion? Been moved. Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Comments from the select board? Comments from the town administrator? Questions or comments addressing Article 13 from the voters? Being none, we'll proceed to vote on Article 13. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 13 passes. Article 14. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $120,440 for the assessing office. Is there a motion? Been moved.
Second.
And seconded. Comments from the select board? Comments from the town administrator? Questions or comments addressing Article 14 from the voters? Being none, we'll vote on Article 14. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 14 passes. Article 15. Pardon me. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $65,258 for the tax collector's office. Is there a motion? Been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments from the select board? Comments from the town administrator? Questions or comments addressing Article 15 from the voters? Being none, we'll vote on Article 15. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 15 passes. Article 16. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $70,936 for the town clerk's office. Is there a motion? Been moved. Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Comments from the select board? Questions or comments? Questions or comments addressing this article from the voters? Being none, we'll vote on Article 16. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 16 passes. Article 17. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $215,009 for the code enforcement office. Is there a motion? Been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Any comments from the select board? Questions or comments? Questions. Comments from the town administrator. Questions or comments addressing Article 17 from the voters? Proceed to vote on Article 17. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 17 passes. Article 18. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $109,552 for the planning office, including $6,500 for boards and committees. Is there a motion? Been moved.
Second.
Yes, moved and seconded. Comments from the select board? Comments from the town administrator? Being done. Questions or comments addressing Article 18 from the voters? We'll proceed to vote on Article 18. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 18 passes. Article 19, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $743,632 for operations and personnel at the recycling center and transfer station. Is there a motion?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments from the select board? Comments from the town administrator? Questions or comments addressing Article 19 from the voters? There being none, we'll proceed to vote on Article 19. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 19 passes. Article 20, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $31,465 for animal control to include $8,084 for Midcoast Humane. Is there a motion? Been moved?
Second.
And seconded. Comments from the select board? None. Comments from the town administrator? Questions or comments addressing Article 20 from the voters? We'll vote on Article 20. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 20 passes. Article 21, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $167,014 for harbor management to include Marine Resources Administration. Is there a motion? Been moved?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Comments from the select board? Comments from the town administrator? Questions or comments addressing Article 21 from the voters? Hearing none, we'll vote on Article 21. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 21 passes. Article 22, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $111,429 for the Recreation and Community Services Department. Do we have a motion? We do. Moved and seconded. Comments from the select board? Town administrator? Questions or comments directed to Article 22 from the voters? We'll proceed to vote on Article 22. All those in favor, raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 22 passes. Article 23, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $6,750 for recreation programs and the sum of $4,500 for maintenance of Trufant Somerton Field, and authorize the select board to appropriate revenue generated by recreation programs for recreational purposes, including for operating expenses and capital improvement of Trufant Somerton Field. Is there a motion?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any comments from the select board? Comments from the town administrator? Questions or comments addressing Article 23 from the voters? Being none, we'll vote on Article 23. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 23 passes. Article 24, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $648,071 for employee benefits as set forth in the warrant. Do we have a motion? Been moved and seconded. Comments from the select board? Comments from the town administrator?
I will make a comment here about the health insurance. Our overall rates went up 9%. However, we have to estimate the number of people who will join our plan. They have to elect to do so. I think by November, there's a certain deadline. So we generally have a good idea, but people's circumstances can change during the year and they can join the plan for various reasons. So we expected more people to be on the plan in 2025, which is why the 2026 number is actually less than the prior year.
Thank you. Questions or comments addressing Article 24 from the voters? Seeing none, we'll vote on Article 24. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 24 passes. Article 25, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $15,875 for the maintenance and repair of cemeteries and graves. We have a motion. Moved. And seconded. Comments from the select board? Comments from the town administrator? Questions or comments addressing Article 25 from the voters? We'll vote on Article 25. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 25 passes. Article 26, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $219,935 for the maintenance and operation of town facilities, vehicles, and properties, including an easement, as set forth in the warrant. Is there a motion? Been moved and seconded. Comments from the select board? Comments from the town administrator?
So this area of the budget has gone up, and I'll try to give a few explanatory responses here. In buildings, property, and vehicles, we have to replace some antifreeze in our sprinkler system, and that's been estimated to be in the $8,000 to $10,000 range. We also have to make some interior fire retardant doors handicap accessible, so that it will be easier if someone needed to leave those interior spaces to just be able to press a button and have them open and close automatically. That's another maybe $10,000 in that area. In addition, in the town landings line, we have a proposal to do some work at Hildreth Road, the parking area. It's my understanding is a project that the Town Lands Committee is recommending. And then the Town Lands Monitor, we have talked about during the budget process, the town having a year-round, part-time monitor for our town lands and properties. So in addition to some money being budgeted here in this article, we're also planning to budget some money in the Mitchell Field area when we get to that article. And by using those two figures, we hope to hire somebody that would be with the town throughout the year, would have to work an average of 20 hours a week, but in the summer, there could be more hours and less hours, in the off season. So we'd like to bring more consistency to that program. We have had monitors seasonally. They've been primarily in the harbor master's budget, and so this really is an expansion to have somebody on our staff year-round who will be kind of dealing with town property issues, and this person would work under the direction of the recreation director.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. You may want to kind of crank that mic down.
No, why do you say that, John? Ronnie Weston, Harpswell Neck. I'm seeking to understand more than anything, but in the budget advisory document, which is at the beginning, and it does relate to this warrant, it talks about town lands and having the monitoring that you're talking about. However, in all of the town lands committees regarding Clark Cove and entering into a management agreement and the cost of that management agreement, it was going to be maintained by volunteers. So there's a $5,000 appropriation on secret ballot. There's now costs in this budget item that are not voted on other than this one area, and it is totally inconsistent, including the town lands summary, which says monitoring and building by volunteers. So I need some clarification.
I'm sorry, say that again?
I need some clarification of, are we voting to approve monitoring for Clark Cove? And in the town lands in Article 26, it says not just the monitoring, but the landings, including Clark Cove.
So, thank you. So is that Recreation Director? Yes, thank you.
Hi, thank you so much. Katie Neal, I'm the Recreation Director.
You need to speak a little bit more to the mic.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Last last year was my first year on staff, and I really enjoyed my time at the town. We noticed as Harpswell has become more loved by more people, our outdoor spaces are not always delicately used, which require the harbor master and myself to constantly go out to the different properties to fix a parking post that fell over, put up new signs to ensure people are using the spaces appropriately, clean out dog pot stations, all sorts of different things on the town property. Cedar Beach falls into my department, and again, as the town has become more loved, it's required a professional level of care and monitoring to ensure that the relationship with those neighbors is maintained and that we continue to have the access that we would like for the town. So outside of anything that should or shouldn't happen with Clark Cove, I need more help being in all places all the time. In addition, our fabulous steward of Mitchellfield, Don Mistel, is looking to reduce the amount of time that he's spending at Mitchellfield. At the same, well, we'll see if he actually, I'm hoping to convince him to stay around. In alignment with there being a new boat launch there. So I would love to have this monitor work in conjunction with Don before he fully steps away. So that is the catalyst for this position, and it has, though, if Clark Cove did pass, this person would help support that project, but we need this outside of it, as well as helping manage dog issues on trails and things like that. So,
Thank
you so much.
Ma'am, there's someone behind you who hasn't spoken yet.
My name is Tracy Johnson Colby. I live on Merriman Cove, Harpswell Neck. So I would like to make a motion that we amend this budget to remove all monies going to the Clark Cove project that has not been voted in to our town as of yet.
So I'm going to call that out of order. That doesn't relate to this article.
Well, it is part of the expenditure in that line item. Am I not correct?
No. I don't think you're correct.
Okay. Well, so then there. Then that's, so when that comes up, that's what I'd like to do. Because what my understanding is that there's a line item for Clark Cove expenditure, but we as a town have not actually voted it in. And so that's very confusing to me, why there would be a line item of $5,000 when we were told it was going to be volunteer labor. So if I'm in the wrong...
Article 26 has no Clark Cove.
Okay, so which article am I in that this pertains?
Article 26 has no, my point is that Article 26 is not Clark's Cove related.
Well, it sounds like...
Well, she said that if Article 4 gets passed, then the monitor will add Clark Cove to the monitoring list of town lands that are monitored, but it has not a direct connection with this. So if you're out of order. I'm sorry.
Out of order. Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome.
So one more clarification. So if this does not include monitoring of Clark Cove, then you have, by voting for this new expenditure, we are not approving monitoring for Clark Cove.
Well, if Clark Cove passes, some of this money will support the monitor who monitors Clark Cove.
So that's why...
No, ma'am, there's no direct linkage between this article and Clark's Cove. It's incidental.
No, they're directly related, John, but that's okay. The next question is, if we just approved a recreation budget of whatever the amount was, 2 articles below, and the monitoring comes under the recreation budget, why are we approving it in this article?
I can't answer that.
As we were putting the budget together, we thought it was important to show in this town lands article, which we have had historically, that we now need this position. And while I said the person would report to the recreation director and be under the supervision of the recreation director, the harbor master will be involved as well. So we just felt like this was the correct area of the budget to show the voters that we want to take this step to add more regular monitoring of all of our town lands and landings. It's taking a lot of staff time, and it's been brought to our attention that the staff needs some additional help, and that this would support the recreation department as well as the harbor master's department. But we wanted to show it in the town lands area. And whether or not Clark Cove passes or not, we still wanted to propose that the town have a year-round part-time monitor to help with all of these locations that the town is responsible for.
Thank you.
So it's, yes, is it in the recreation budget, or this is a separate budget item?
This is a separate budget.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to clarify, my title is Director of Recreation and Community Services, and I sit on the Mitchell Field Committee, Lands Committee, Bandstand Committee. So budgets that have to do with any of those departments have their own budgets, even though it falls under the Recreation Department. So recreation is for the programs and events that we host.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments directed to Article 26? Being none, we'll propose to vote on Article 26. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 26 passes. Article 27. To see if the town will vote to appropriate this up to $77,870 of unassigned fund balance, which includes $27,870 of insurance proceeds from the salt shed claim to rebuild the damaged section of the building. Is there a motion? Move and second. Comments from the select board? Comments from town administrator? Questions or comments addressing this article from the voters? Seeing none, we'll vote on this article. Please raise your cards in favor. Those opposed? Article 27 passes. Article 28. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $37,800 for Mitchell Field. Is there a motion? Been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Comments from the select board? Questions or comments from excuse me.
I just want to point out that there is part of the Mitchell Field budget that is for monitoring, surveying, and testing. And so of that $9,000 being proposed, some of that would be used to hire a monitor who would help with Mitchell Field. The current monitor is a volunteer, amazing volunteer. Plans to step down later in the fall, would like some time to work with the person that the town would hire, so there would be some overlap, but I just wanted to point out that is incorporated into that $9,000.
Thank you. Questions or comments addressing Article 28 from the voters? Being none, we will vote on Article 28. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 28 passes. Article 29. To see if the town will vote to appropriate up to $50,000 from unassigned fund balance for the removal of hazardous materials from the Sentry Building at Mitchell Field, and to further authorize the select board to accept and expend any grant funds for this purpose. Is there a motion? Been moved. And second. Comments from the select board? Comments from the town administrator?
There was a recommendation that came forward from the Mitchell Field Committee for the town to remove the hazardous materials that are in that building. I think it's primarily lead-based paint. So we do have have a report that was done in 2024 that provided us with information that helped us estimate the cost of the removal of the hazardous materials from the administration building at Mitchell Field. And so we're in hopes that this $50,000 would do what is necessary to that Century building, which is the building at the entrance to Mitchell Field, where the town does keep things like signs, maybe the dog potty, refresh bags, those kinds of things are kept in that building. The full purpose of the building I don't think has been explored, but I think the town would like to be able to use that building more and to have those hazardous materials removed.
Thank you. Any questions or comments addressing Article 29? We will vote on Article 29. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 29 passes. Article 30, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $734,933 for snow removal, road maintenance, road street signs, and compensation for the road commissioner as set forth in the warrant. Do we have a motion? Moved and seconded. Comments from the select board? Comments from the town administrator? Questions or comments from the voters addressing Article 30? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote on Article 30. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 30 passes. Article 31, to see if the town will vote and appropriate the sum of $300,000 for the capital improvement of roads, including without limitation, drainage improvements, utility relocations, engineering, survey, and other related costs, all as determined to be appropriate by the select board. Is there a motion? Good, moved and seconded. Comments from the select board? Comments from the town administrator? Questions or comments addressing Article 31 from the voters? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote on Article 31. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 31 passes. Article 32, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $429,726 for Maine Health Mid-Coast Hospital to provide 24/7 Harpswell-based paramedic coverage and related administrative support services. We have a motion. And second. Comments from the select board? Comments from town administrator? Questions or comments addressing Article 32 from the voters? Seeing none, we'll vote on Article 32. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 32 passes. Article 33, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $352,564 for the Department of Safety, including municipal firefighters and their associated costs to assist the 3 fire and rescue companies in the delivery of services and for other emergency services and management. Do we have a motion? Moved and second. Comment from the select board? Comments from town administrator? Questions or comments addressing this article from the voters? We'll vote on Article 33. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 33 passes. Article 34, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $261,500 for the operating and capital expenses of 3 fire and rescue providers as set forth in the warrant. Is there a motion? Been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments from the select board? None. Comments from the from Christie? None. Questions or comments addressing Article 34 from the voters? We will vote on Article 34. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 34 passes. Article see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $250,000 for the purchase of an emergency services vehicle with related vehicle equipment and accessories as determined by the select board. Such vehicle to be owned by the town and leased to the local fire departments that have an emergency services agreement with the town on such terms and conditions as the select board deems to be in the best interest of the town, with such funds to be held in the emergency vehicles capital account, which is an interest-bearing account dedicated reserve fund account, until vehicle purchase, and to authorize that the proceeds from the sale of emergency services vehicles owned by the town be held in the emergency vehicles capital account. Is there a motion? And second. Comments from the select board? Comments from the town administrator?
I know that it shows 0 expended in 2025. However, we have committed $467,945 for 2 vehicles that are being put together for the town as I speak. One is a 1-ton pickup to be used by the Orrs Bailey Island Fire Department for $106,020. And then there's a squad vehicle for the Cundy's Harbor Department for $361,925. So that's why we're asking for more money to build up that reserve, because there are ambulances that are going to need to be replaced in each of the 3 districts in the next 5-year period. So again, we think this is good fiscal management to be building that reserve over time.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments addressing this article from the voters? If not, we'll vote on Article 35. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 35 passes. Article 36. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $300,000 for the Recycling Center Capital Reserve Account to be expended for Phase 2 of the Recycling Center upgrade with a primary focus on improvements to the building. Do we have a motion? Move in a second. Comments from the select board? Comments from town administrator? We have the emergency service manager that can answer any questions if there are any. Voters, you can address this article with questions or comments if you like. Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote on this article. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 36 passes. Article 37. To see if the town will vote to, 1, enter a multi-year contract for up to 5 years with Cumberland County for emergency communication services, and 2, raise and appropriate the sum of $46,475 for such services. Is there a motion? Been moved. Is there a second? Moved and second. Comments from the select board? Comments from town administrator? Questions or comments addressing Article 37 from the voters? We'll vote on Article 37. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 37 passes. Article 38. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $515,543 for law enforcement services from Cumberland County. Is there a motion? Moved and seconded. Comments from the select board? Comments from the town administrator? None. Questions or comments on Article 38 from the voters? We'll vote on Article 38. All those in favor, please raise your cards. All those opposed? Article 38 passes. Article 39. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $301,293 for marine wardens and shellfish conservation. I misspoke. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $301,593 for marine wardens and shellfish conservation related services from Cumberland County. Thank you for correcting. Is there a motion? Been moved and second. Comment from the select board other than corrections? Okay. Questions or comments addressing Article 39 from the voters? Proceed to vote on Article 39. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 39 passes. Article 40. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $9,000, of which $7,000 is for the boat operation and maintenance of a marine patrol boat, and $2,000 for marine resources and shellfish conservation activities and projects. Is there a motion? And moved, and second. Comments from the select board? Comments from the town administrator? There are none. Questions and comments addressing Article 40 from the voters? We'll vote on Article 40. Those in favor, please raise your cards. I can't find mine. Those opposed? Article 40 passes. Article 41. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $49,516 for general assistance and health and welfare agencies as set forth in the warrant. Is there a motion? Moved and second. Comments from the select board? Comments from the town administrator? Questions or comments addressing Article 41 from the voters? Seeing none, we'll vote on Article 41. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 41 passes. Article 42. Before I read this, there is a errata in the town report. The line item for HENPE, Harpswell Neck Physical Education Association, was shown as $6,000. That line item in the actual warrant is that you'd be voting on today. It's for Harpswell Neck Physical Education is $4,000. Article 42, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $99,570 for the purposes set forth in the warrant. Is there a motion? And moved. And second. And comment from the select board? Comments from town administrator?
The explanation for that reduction of $2,000 is that HENPE asked for funding for its summer camp program, and it's not planning to hold the summer camp program this year, so that's why there was the reduction of $2,000.
Thank you. Questions or comments addressing Article 42 from the voters? Hearing none, we'll vote on Article 42. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 42 passes. Article 43, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $87,580 for Harpswell Community Broadcasting Corporation. Is there a motion? Move there a second. Second. Comments from the select board other than Mr. Chipman? Comments from town administrator? None. Questions or comments addressing Article 43 from the voters? Now we'll vote on Article 43. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 43 passes. Article 44. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $20,000 for the town of Harpswell's property tax assistance program with unexpended funds to be held in reserve. Do we have a motion? And moved. And second. Comments from the select board? Comments from the town administrator? Questions or comments addressing Article 44 from the voters? Being none, we'll vote. Article 44. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 44 passes. Article 45. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $160,000 for the following capital reserve accounts. $75,000 for town facilities, $60,000 for vehicles, $10,000 for boat and motor replacement, $5,000 for office equipment, and $10,000 for dry hydrant replacement. Do we have a motion? Move.
Second.
And second. Comments from the select board? Comments from town administrator? Questions or comments addressing Article 45 from the voters? vote on Article 45. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 45 passes. Article 46. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $670,000 for short and long-term principal and interest debt service payments. Is there a motion? Been moved? And seconded. Comments from the select board? Comments from the town administrator?
The increase in this article has to do with the first principal and interest payment on the boat launch at Mitchell Field, and that's projected to be $177,000 in 2026.
Questions or comments addressing Article 46 from the voters? Seeing none, we'll vote on Article 46. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 46 passes. At this point in the meeting, we have Articles 47 through 55, which are what we call every year housekeeping articles, and you have an option here. I can go through each article, read it, discuss it, and vote on it, or I can read all the articles and we'll deal with it, comment on them as a block. These are articles that appear in the warrant annually. And if there's no objection, I'm going to deal with them as a block. Are there any objections? I apologize. It's Articles 47 through 54. All right, I'm going to read these and then we'll deal with them as a bushel basket approach. To see if the town, Article 47, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board, pardon me? Pardon me? We have a motion to dispense with the reading of the articles. It's been seconded. All those in favor of dispensing with the reading of the articles, which are those opposed, I dare you. One opposition. Sorry. All right. That being the case, you may approach the mic and comment if you wish, or raise questions about Articles 47 through 54. Seeing none, we will vote on Articles 47 through 54 as a block. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Articles 47 through 54 pass. Thank you, Gordon. So this is the last article of this year's town meeting. Stop right now for a second to remind everybody the polls remain open until 5 o'clock. The reason I do it now is because if I wait after this vote, you can hear the vacuum being created as people leave. So the polls, after the polls close, the ballot clerks and wardens will be counting the ballots. That's an open process. You're welcome to hang around and watch that. If you would like to watch grass grow, you can do that. And then once that's done, then I will come back and we'll announce who won the results of those first three secret ballot articles. And I also want to thank Don Miskell. So I want to just thank Don Miskell for all the work he's done. Thank you, Don. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Welcome. All right, Article 55. To see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to appropriate amounts not to exceed $350,000 from municipal revenue sharing, $2,700,000 from non-property tax revenue sources, $600,000 of unassigned fund balance, and the homestead exemption and BETE reimbursement estimated to be $183,000 to reduce the tax commitment. Is there a motion? Ed has been seconded. Comment from the select board? Comment from the administrator? Questions or comments for the voters? All those in favor, please raise your cards. Those opposed? Article 55 passes. At this point, we don't adjourn the meeting until after the vote is taken, but you're all excused.